Alright, YouTube, Stocks by the Numbers, welcome back. Wanted to take a quick look here at a company that I know a lot of people were asking me about. A couple of people left comments about it. Let's get into it. Microbot Medical Incorporated, ticker symbol MBOT, MBOT here on the NASDAQ. This company has been receiving a lot of attention since the end of May, as you see here, going back to May 22nd here, when they announced some positive data. And, they got a grant from Israel here. They did another direct offering, but the stock has actually been up since June 2nd. However, markets have really been raging as well, so that might be adding to it. Direct offerings, we're up. Here we go. Microbot Medical gets $440,000 grant from Israel Innovation Authority. You guys know how we feel about these Israeli companies. They really always work out. I'd say 9, 9.5, 9.8, 9.9 times out of 10. And it's funny because over the years, this company, as a stock I'm referring to, has really just been bleeding. Well, actually, the company as well, right? We're not really seeing any income, but here, share offering. Look at this right here. This, in my opinion, obviously is going to be the game changer. Leahy Hospital and Medical Center agrees to become one of the U.S. sites for the Liberty Robotic Systems first human trial. That's this company. It's called the Liberty Robotic System. And obviously, first human trial, I mean, could turn out negatively, of course, unfortunately. But on the flip side, if there is any positivity that comes out of this situation, you and I both know the stock is probably going to explode. And again, I know they're doing some offerings here, direct offerings of common stock, and usually that would bring the share price down. And it's funny that right after the pop, this did begin to sell off and pull back. You can see actually hit a low of what, $1.60, low of $1.65 before bouncing here and rallying back up. Now again, you can see I drew this little ellipse here, and you can see that a lot of action happening there at this level where the stock bounced off of twice. So you draw that trend line out, you draw our top trend line out here from these two, and you can see that we are in a symmetrical triangle. This circle right here, as you see, like mid-August, this is the next time the company is reporting earnings. And sometimes we do see a pop here. So a little bit of a pop here because the company has actually been trying to maintain the bleeding. And they have been kind of coming in with slightly narrower losses than what Wall Street was anticipating. So sometimes you see a little positive reaction in the stock when the company does report earnings. However, again, we have this longer symmetrical triangle setting up, so telling me that we're approaching the apex when the company reports earnings, and of course that is what? Yeah, it's about like 6, 7 weeks from now, so it would be understandable if it kind of like bounces around now and hangs out in this range and then breaks out again, like, you know what I'm saying? But we are in this kind of upward channel here, really. Going back to the beginning of June, again, the markets really have been raging. The word has now spread on MBOT, and I'm sure all young and old investors alike who have now finally heard of this situation jumped in, and now they own shares, whether it's a couple of hundred or it's, thousands of shares tucked away in the long term. But long story short, right here, I feel like one of two things can happen, obviously. Hats off to me, right? But stocks either go up or down. That's the joke there. But bottom line is, again, we are running up here, and we could potentially hit this top trend line again, which would be about 3.5. So in the short term, you could potentially make about 15% if it does keep rising here, bouncing off the bottom trend line back up here to this top trend line here. However, it could, of course, break out randomly and get back above $4, but it really technically shouldn't, in my opinion, even if we believe that the company is severely undervalued and it's going to increase and climb hand over fist down the road. But either way, it could, of course, break down here in the shorter term and just kind of bounce around and, again, stay inside of this symmetrical triangle, which it has already, tested and formed multiple times. So even a pullback here to about the mid of this triangle, again, you're looking at this fib, about 251, this fib level here. So a pullback to 2.5, that seems logical, of course. However, again, if you're holding this long term, right, short term, you want to catch the ride up to 3.25, 3.5, make a nice short term profit. It's entirely your own prerogative. If we're talking long term, then it really doesn't matter, does it? Because if you get in now at $3 and you're looking to hold this for years and just wait for them to really grow, then it's not going to matter too much if you get in here at $3 or if you wait and you can get in at 260 or 245, right? I mean, obviously you're going to sit there and say, "Oh, I remember it went down and I could have got it for a couple of pennies less," but hey, it is what it is. At the end of the day, that's not too crazy. But pulling back here to the bottom trend line here, as you see, 1 3/4. It technically is possible and could happen. Again, the company just issued more shares and the stock has been going higher, even though it did receive some positive news. But on the flip side, again, that's why I feel like pulling back, even if it's like towards the middle of this symmetrical triangle here, the 230s, the 240s, I do think that would be justified in the immediate short term. And if you could get in at a lower price, if you really want to try to chance it, then go for it. In general, though, overall, I do feel the company's a buy, right? Seems like a pretty sick situation. I mean, they got like a robotic surgeon going on that this guy controls with a Game Boy here. Where's the picture? Where is it? There it is. Look at this guy. So you whip out your little Sega Game Gear here, your Liberty Game Gear, and you're controlling this robot here, going through people's hearts and whatnot, doing heart surgery and shit. And here, of course, boom, you got your Israel connection. Shout out to the Israelis. They make winners, man. Just go back, look at all the stocks for the most part. But here again, we're on stock charts. We're looking at MBOT. Here on the daily, you can see it immediately, the RSI immediately spiked well above 70. It started to pull back down and basically has been rising again. And you can see here it's a little over 66. So that's why I'm saying we had multiple rejections here, a breakthrough on the moving average, but then pulled back and closed below it. So that's why I'm saying you could have a little run again, back up to like 3 1/4 maybe, and it could retest. But technically, it should reject again and begin to sell off and pull back. The good thing is the 50-day moving average has now begun to curl, right? So it was basically beelining straight down on this curve, and it stopped right here at about 1 3/4, and now has since been rising up slightly, a couple of pennies. So now it's at 183, and that's good. Like I say, when the moving average consistently increase, that also makes new support levels for the stock as it's running up. So it, hopefully doesn't go lower than that, and that braces for the support. So, right, so look at this. So let's just say, hypothetically, this is now the low, this moving average, and it's going to stay above this 50-day moving average. So if the stock immediately starts to pull back here, and let's just say I messed up, I bought it at 3, I could have got in at 2, right? But it starts to pull back as this is rising. So now, let's just say your low is like $1.85. When before this whole situation and this whole curl happened, your low was going to be $1 or potentially sub-dollar, new 52-week lows, right? So you got that going in your favor as well. But look at the MACD, absolutely, raging, flying to the moon. And that's what I always said. What goes up must come down. And again, it could continue running here and go from 3 up to 4 and just slowly keep climbing from this level, even though technically the company really hasn't done anything yet. But again, either way, in the long term, I really wouldn't say you shouldn't buy it here at $3, right? If you're really asking me 3, 6, 10 years down the road, in my opinion, I think it's a good buy. Sounds like a great story. If I had some liquidity going on, I probably would, buy shares of a company like this and just tuck it away for the long term. And if it does, in the short term, go from 3 back down to sub 2, it's really not going to matter again because I'm holding it for years, not for months. But again, I do like the story overall, and if we look at the financials here, you can see the company right now only has a market cap of about $30 million. Now, of course, if they start bringing in a couple of million, I understand it may initially be spoken for to take care of, any whatever debts or, just to get their ducks in a row or just to increase the efficiency of the whole operation, right? Usually these companies, just reinvest back into production and R&D, right? Research and development. But overall, once they start bringing money in, obviously the stock is going to explode, but more importantly, it's even going to explode again, like I said, with any positive data coming out of that first human trial that we read about before. So, positioning yourself here before the company really starts to rock and roll may really be a good idea, whether it goes, from 3 back down to 1.5. It really might not matter in the long run. Again, market cap of about $30 million. we have companies that technically aren't doing anything, and they're worth several $billions, right? We saw that with Rivian. The stock was maintaining like a $30-40 billion market cap. Like stock was worth less than $1 billion. You know what did the company have? They had an IP for a car. They weren't making them yet, and they were bleeding every year. It's like, how the hell is that worth $40 billion? If that's worth $40 billion, do yourself a favor. Start a company tomorrow. Get publicly listed. Boom, you become a billionaire. If anyone asks you anything, just say you're projecting that you're going to make hundreds of millions of dollars. And, don't worry, because that's what they all do. So you can become an insta-billionaire, excuse me. And just give a shout out to my YouTube channel when they interview you in Forbes, okay? But here you can see market cap 30 million. So we can easily 10x this and go up to 300 million, which would technically still be undervalued, right? People always talk about the tremendous IP that these companies have on the back burner and try to justify these overinflated prices and market cap valuations. So why can't we do it with MBOT, right? We can easily 10x this, bring this up to $30 a share. That would be a market cap of 300 million. I think that makes sense in my opinion. If you told me a couple of years ago a guy could grab a Game Gear and control a robot and do heart surgery on you, and limit the amount of mistakes or flaws that can happen throughout the whole procedure, yeah, I'd probably pay for it if I could, and I'm sure I'd be on board with the idea and wish them the best of luck. And like I said, it really looks like we have something big here. And obviously, if this market cap gets back up to $1 billion, you're talking 33 times your assets right here, right? Which would be back to like $100 a share, which of course could happen, and I know everyone wants it to. But again, speaking in the short term, even if it does bounce around and stay in this range, that does mean hopefully that you have time, and there's still at least several months on the calendar left before the company really starts flying to the moon. And believe it or not, that's good. It's good, believe it or not. And hopefully, again, a lot of people watching the video, or I'm sure by now you've heard about the situation. So I just hope that it actually takes its time. I really do hope it takes its time so that just more and more little people could get involved and take advantage of the situation, right? Keep it down here at a few dollars, let everyone and their brother buy some shares, and then boom, all of a sudden, oh yeah, it was successful, the robot in the human trial. Oh yeah, now that hospital said they're just exclusively using this robot to do the procedure. You know what I'm saying? And then, oh, this hospital over here in this state wants to use them, and oh, this hospital over here wants to use the robot as well. And that's it. It's going to be off to the races. Off to the races, and that's why with these ridiculous valuations today that we put on these companies, hey, this is a NASDAQ listed company, right? And even though it was in the shitter and hitting new lows down at $1, now it's making a revival. Now it finally got the news and the press and the headlines that it really needed to cement its value in the market. And again, I really do think it's only going to be a matter of time before this stock really does explode in value. I really, really do believe that. So, again, overall, I do think it's a buy. We do have, again, a little potential trend happening here, so we could kind of top out and just bounce around and drop down. However, again, like we always say, if we like it at 3, we're going to love it at 2 or at 1.5 or shit, bring it back down to 1, right? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, I promise you. Random motorcycle going by. Because in the end, again, if we bring this market cap up to even several hundred million, you're talking about a 10x on your funds here. So, again, in the long term, I really do think it's only going to work out. And if you do buy here at 3 and it pulls back to 1.5, $1 down the road, let it quiet down again. Let it exit the news cycle so that you can buy even more shares down there, right? And then, again, if everything goes according to plan and they remain on the path that they're on right now, this Microbot Medical, MBOT, on the NASDAQ is going to be a potentially huge winner for everyone down the road. And we'll end it there. So once again, stocks by the numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comment section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Like the video, thumbs up, helps out the algorithm, helps me get more eyes on the channel. Share the video. More importantly, handshake agreement, right? Like we always say, just do me a favor. I have no problem, you guys. Oh, could you look at this symbol? Or, oh, no one's talking about this company. You should do a video on that. Like, no problem. I welcome all criticisms, all inputs, and anytime you guys want to again, throw a symbol at me, I'll try to throw it on the board. And again, I know sometimes I don't get to them very quickly, but I promise I will eventually get to all of these symbols that everyone kind of threw out at me. And all I ask, again, in return, handshake agreement, I'll make the videos. Just push the subscribe button. That's all I ask. That's how we take care of each other. But again, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky and they're very volatile. And they're very uncertain, especially as of late. So I do want to wish everyone success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. Catch you guys in the next video.